Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of Aylowe's Graveyard. So in the last episode I was showing you the wall and defences of this graveyard assignment that I had to do in college in 3ds Studio Max. As you can see there, if you did watch the last one, that is the reference image that I'm working on. Not exactly what I'm doing, but that is basically the gist of what I want to get to. Because I've been working in college as well as at home, when I do stuff in college, I can't record it. So there was a big, I wouldn't say big gap between the last video and what was done here, but obviously there was some stuff done in college. Mostly I just added some textures. I was working on some windows. That's what you see, this thing that just disappeared over there. So that's the window that I'm trying to, or was trying to get in. There's some issues there with geometry. I did discuss that a little bit last time when I was making the pillars and I was trying to do the detail on the top, that I could see some strange geometry there. Stuff that I've learned over the last year. That's what it looks like rendered. I did say last time as well that I switched from the mental ray renderer, which is what was default in 3ds Studio Max 2017, and then we switched to 2019, which came with Arnold. I haven't done that yet. I will show you the difference. It is insane, the difference that just switching the renderer made. So I've textured the buildings. I just went online and found some brick textures for the buildings, slate tiles for the roofs, some metal for the fences, concrete for the pillars, and I think I just did copper for the tops of the fences, the little pointy things, which is what we saw me making in the last video. In the last video I also had a bit off to the side that was going to be the graveyard. I changed that, so I moved the whole building over, made the entire area smaller, and then what I'm going to do is that the right side of the building will end up being a graveyard. So now I am duplicating parts of the fence, the iron fence. It's been a while since I've watched this. It's been a year since I've done anything. I'm trying to make a gate. That's what I'm trying to remember what I was doing. For the window, I followed a tutorial online that I can't actually remember now, and I did my best to follow it exactly, but I couldn't. I got good enough, and then for the inside, it's just basically an extruded circle, and I found just frosted glass because I couldn't find any. What's the word I'm looking for? Any of the glass that you'd find in churches. So, yeah. So this is what I'm doing. I did look to see, because my plan was, I know this is the last recording I have for this particular assignment. This doesn't get to the end, the finished product of what I ended up with. And I think it was because this was the first thing I started recording last year for college. And because I was quite new to it, I kind of kept forgetting to turn on OBS when I was working from home. So I didn't actually get to record that much of it, which is kind of sad. But my plan was to, at the end of this video, open 3ds Max and show you all the finished product, but it turns out I deleted it somehow. I don't know how that happened. Well, I do, I deleted it. I don't know why that happened. I was trying desperately to do stuff and to keep it all so that I could show you. But I do have, because part of the assignment was we had to have images rendered. So I have 7 images that I will show at the end of this. So it might be a slightly longer video. If you do see me moving my mouse currently, because I'm watching a recording back as opposed to the me in the past me working on this. And if I come down here, you'll see, oh, you can't even see it here. Oh yeah, the video is almost 4 hours long. It is not. It is just over an hour, and then I must have left OBS on and gone away because there is literally just 2 hours of nothing happening on my desktop. So as well as forgetting to turn on OBS, I also forget to turn it off. But you know, live and learn. I'd like to say I'm improving, but I still sometimes forget to turn on OBS, and sometimes I just kind of don't bother because I don't know what I'm going to be working on. That shouldn't really stop me. Also, sometimes I'm just trying to fix problems, and I feel a little embarrassed about posting videos of me not knowing what the hell I'm doing, even though that is the whole point of this whole channel and me recording the work. It's that, you know, I'm only learning. It shows people what you go through, how you learn, and looking back at my mistakes, I can learn from them. And if I ever encounter that problem again, I could go, oh yeah, didn't I encounter that problem when I was doing such and such a game? And then go back to the recording of me working on it, see the problem, see how I fixed it, and I can continue to learn from having these videos. That is the plan. So here's me trying to make a gate. I wonder if I should just speed this up, which I can't do, or can I? Yeah, maybe I could just do that. Speed it up to make this video a little bit shorter. I think it mostly is just me trying to do a gate, unless people want to see. I mean, I'm not doing a live stream, so I can't actually get feedback from what you guys want. I could just talk for the next hour randomly while this happens. Basically, the gate is the same as the railings, just showing off. Yeah, product placement if anybody wants to send me some Red Bull. I am also currently, because today is, what date is it today? Let me have a look here. Today is the 16th of April at recording this. Yeah, I'm still stuck inside. That is interesting. I have asked why that happens. It is a problem. It's not a problem with the geometry. I think it's just a problem with 3ds Max, that it was a bug in it or something. Yeah, because it comes along and it goes away. So it's a problem with rendering it inside the scene as opposed to rendering it in the renderer. Yeah, I don't know. That is crazy. Because it kept happening to me and I had no idea why. Oh well. It didn't actually impact the work. It didn't show up in any renders. And you can see here, I was toying with the idea of having hills with grass in it, and 3ds Max has a hair system that can be quite good for grass. I know one of the other people in my year did use it to do some pretty cool grass effects in his model, and that is a tree on top of it, this tree here, that renders. I wanted a willow tree. It didn't render quite the way I wanted, and it took up a lot of processing power, and we'll get into the render times later on. But spoiler alert, in the end I took them out just because I couldn't get it quite to work the way I wanted. And again, you might tell... See, I can't tell it with the distance. Like I said in the last video, I had issues with scale and trying to get things to scale of each other. There's a very small grave stone over in the corner that you can't see right now, but it was there a second ago. I still, looking at it, I can't tell if it's too big. Not too big, it's definitely not too big. I can't tell if it's too small or if it's just that it's far away. Which is quite interesting. Yes, so it is the, what did I say, 16th of April 2020. In the midst of the COVID-19 crisis. I hope everyone's keeping safe and well, and keeping your distance, but also reaching out to people online, talking to friends, talking to family, because it is quite a lonely, boring time. I mean, I should be doing lots of college work, but technically I'm on the Easter midterm. Not that I actually realised that until yesterday. So, you know, I've emailed some of my teachers to ask for updates on what's left to do and how we're going to hand stuff up, because we have presentations to do as well. So I have the PowerPoint stuff done. I just don't know how we're going to present it, or how do I just send them the PowerPoint. But 6 days ago, Final Fantasy VII Remake was released for the PS4, and I got some money today, so I am currently downloading it. If you see me looking up, it's because my TV is right above the webcam. That's hooked up to my PS4, and it's downloading, and it's currently 75 out of 90 gigabytes, 68 minutes left. Which means that by the time this video is done, it should be ready to play. I'm very excited. Final Fantasy VII, the original on the PS1, was, I think, the first game I played on the PS1. If I remember correctly, because it was a very long time ago. And I just realised there's nothing happening on the screen. It doesn't matter. I'm going to keep talking anyway. I think when I got the PS1, if I remember correctly, Final Fantasy VII is the game I got with it. It was the very first game I played for that console, and I fell in love with it and spent hours playing it, replaying it. Oh, it was brilliant. So I've been dying for them to make a remake since, you know, ever. So it's great. Okay, let's see what's going on here. I'm going to scrub through here to see when I actually start working again. Here we go. See, this is the thing when I record stuff, and I still do it now, is that if I don't know how to do something, I leave OBS recording and I go off and look stuff up. And I go, oh, I'll edit it out later. And here I am recording stuff, seeing that I'm doing nothing, and will I edit it? Yeah. No. Will I cut it out? No. Why would I? Because that's another important thing to know, is that, you know, you can learn so much from YouTube tutorials, which these are not. You certainly don't learn from what I'm doing here. YouTube tutorials, Googling stuff, that's even... I've heard people in the industry, professionals, saying, like, if you don't know something, Google it. Google is your best friend. So here is a spline. Again, I said again in the last video, my naming conventions. I noticed earlier in the video here that I had some stuff named, but I don't have this named. This is going to be the top of the gate, I would imagine. I'm just trying to get that kind of curvy shape that I want. I haven't used 3ds Max since last year. It's crazy. The little bit of modelling I've been doing this year has been in Maya, and I do find Maya a lot easier in some respects, but then I haven't really had to use splines that much. I tend to just use standard primitives and then edit the edges and the vertices, the vertices to get the shape that I want. It's interesting because I remember learning stuff in 3ds Max last year, because we had one class a week, but it was a 5-hour block for that day, and all we did that day was 3ds Max, so we learned loads, and there is so much to learn within 3D modeling software, so it can be quite daunting the first time you pick it up. And even switching from the likes of 3ds Max to Maya, which I still say, like, the skills are transferable. If you know how to model in one, you know how to model in any modeling software. You just have to figure out how that software works in terms of, you know, where is this button and how do you navigate it. I opened up 3ds Max earlier today to try and find the graveyard scene, and I forgot. I was trying to use the way Maya like moves around within the windows, and it's not the same, because Maya you just alt and use your mouse buttons. 3ds Max, for some reason, it's alt for some of it and control for the rest, which I think is quite strange and very difficult to get used to, especially when you're, because this year I've been using Mudbox, which is the same movement system as Maya, and Substance Painter, which is the same. But I've been looking up stuff on other ones, because Cinema 4D is something that I want to see if I can get a student license for, because I'm trying out all these different softwares just to see what they're like. I have Houdini, which is node based. Moving around in that is a little bit different as well. I haven't used it much yet. Cinema 4D I haven't gotten yet, but again, the tutorials I've watched online, the movement in that is different. And whereas in a lot of these softwares you can use WE and OR to change between your move tool, your rotate tool, and your scale tool, in Cinema 4D it's is it 1, 2, and 3, or F1, F2, F3, or I think the F1 key is to change between the windows. So your front view, your perspective view, your left view, and all that, and then 1, 2, 3 is for your. That doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not doing Cinema 4D, and it took me ages. I was trying to maximize the perspective view in 3ds Max, because I did find another project that I'd done last year, which was named with the graveyard. So I think that's why I deleted the graveyard by accident, was that I had another file that said graveyard in the name, even though the graveyard it's not the graveyard assignment, it was the one we had before that. So I opened that thinking it was the graveyard, and it was not. And I was trying to open the perspective view to maximize the perspective view to get a better look at it, just to have, just out of curiosity. It's been a while since I've looked at it, and I kept hitting the space key, going, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? And I forgot, because space in Maya is what you do. You highlight whichever view you want to go into, the perspective view or the top view, or whichever one, and you hit space and it maximizes. Whereas in 3ds Max, it's Alt and W, I think, which is so, because I've been using Maya, going back to 3ds Max can be quite difficult to remember what to do. But yeah, no, the skills, the actual, moving of the vertices and manipulating the objects and getting them to the shape that you want, in any 3D software, it's pretty much the same once you know how that software, like the hotkeys that you need to do and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so 3ds Max, I still have it. Like I think I said this in the last video. I have 3ds Studio Max, Maya, Blender, and Houdini now on my computer. Maya is the only one I've had a chance to use this year because I've been doing a lot of rigging and animation in college this year, and less of the actual 3D modeling. And there was a point to that. Yes, but I do have them all because I'd like to learn how to use them all, because depending on, like, if I want to use my own games or make my own games, then I'd have to use Blender because it's open source, and I only have student licenses for the other ones, which means I can't use them for commercial products. If I get a job in a studio, Maya tends to be the industry standard, so it'd be good to know that. Some studios do use 3ds Max, so it's handy to know all of them. Houdini is more, from what I can see, for, I think it is used, procedural stuff for games as well. I did it because it's great for visual effects and particle simulations, which is something I'm trying to teach myself and get into. Node-based stuff it's like learning a new language, really, which I've already done because I've been learning C#. Yeah, so you can see the gate is taking shape. If I was smart, I would have just done one side of the gate, like this part of the gate that I've done, and then mirror it over. But I didn't think of that. So I go through the whole rigmarole of doing the two sides of the gate, which I didn't need to do. But live and learn. There's so much stuff. As I said, there's so many different tools and different ways of doing things that sometimes you just forget what is available to you. So, hopefully going forward, I won't forget next time. And I won't spend hours making a gate, making two sides of a gate, when I could have just spent, half that time on one side of the gate and then mirror it over. I am quite interested to see how far I get in this. I don't think by the end of this video, because I did have a quick look through it the other day, I don't think I get to the point where I switch to the Arnold renderer, which is a shame. But as I said, I have the images at the end. I really did want to have the scene, the file, so that I could open it in 3ds Max and show, and just move around it so that you could see all the different stuff I did, because I added in, as I said in the last video, if you watched the whole point of this assignment was to have lighting, volumetric lighting and fog, which, just to make it an atmospheric scene. So I had a couple of lights in there, and it's one of the first things I've ever done that I was proud of. It is now the screensaver on my phone, just to remind me to be proud of the work that you do, because I think it's important, even if it's not great. For a second attempt of doing something in any way decent in 3ds Max, I thought I did alright. I will say a lot of that is thanks to the Arnold renderer, and you'll see the difference. This looks okay. Like, you can tell it's a church. Oh yeah, also in the last video, keep pointing at the screen, I was trying to do at the top of this tower, if past me would stop ruining what I'm trying to talk about by rotating. At the top of this tower in the last one, in the reference image, there's like small little towery things on the top. And you could see one of them in the last video. And I did say that it was a bit small and I couldn't get it to look the way I wanted it to look. And I tried to do some crenulated top bits of the wall at the top, and I couldn't get that quite right. So then I decided to do a bell tower, which I was actually a lot happier with, and I thought it looked quite well. For the windows, they're actually, so I have one here so that I can just duplicate it, scale it to whatever size I need, and then I just put that wherever I want a window, so I don't have to keep making more windows. I also use it because I can boolean a hole out of the walls, that is an exact fit for the window, and then duplicate the window and put the window into the hole, just so that it looks better. I know, see, so you can see there's two separate windows. So one is for booleaning and the other is for scaling and putting into the hole. No, I mean, I'm not going to say that this video is for kids on YouTube, just because it's not for kids. I mean, they can watch it if they want, but I don't really see why they'd want to. But I must remember that my dirty mind can get me into trouble. So I'll try not to make the jokes that I would normally make in public. I'd make them in public, but I won't make them on YouTube. Oh, crazy. I think the isolation is getting to me a little bit. Also, being stuck in the house all day for the last month or so, or however long it's been, time has just kind of melded together. I'm getting really bad hay fever. So my eyes are killing me. I've, nose sniffling and sneezing, and so please, somebody tell me, how do you get hay fever when you're stuck indoors? It's insane and very annoying, and my eyes are killing me. But I went to the do I mirror it? I will continue my thought if I remember. Effect pivot only, center to object. Excuse me. No, I duplicated it. For a second there, when I saw it flip, I thought I'd mirrored it. Oh, I did do a mirror. What? But I duplicated it and then mirrored it? Anyway, there's a render of what it looks like. You can see in the perspective view, this view here, even though you can see the textures, they don't appear the same as they do in the render. I think there is a way to do like a high quality view in the perspective view, so that it appears much the same as it would in a render, but that can take up quite a lot of processing power. So I tend to just go, I know the textures are on it. So you can see like the color, the copper there, and just black shiny metal, a little bit of concrete. You can see the bricks are actually, it's red brick, so it's not just this weird grey texture. So yeah, open gate. Yeah. I know what I was going to say, but I don't know what I started saying. Anyway, I went out today and got some antihistamines and some eye drops. So hopefully they will help with the hay fever. I also got my Red Bull. I was going to get either the big can or a 6-pack, but I didn't have it, so I didn't really want to spend loads of money on separate cans of Red Bull. Because my sleep pattern has also gone absolutely insane, thanks to this isolation. I must be looking something else up. What am I doing? Yep, here we go. Oh yeah, do I do the... I'm just trying to remember what there's the door. See, this is the thing. I had no specific instructions other than make a church and a graveyard scene with volumetric lighting and fog. And while I was going off of a reference image, I did decide quite early on that it didn't necessarily have to be exact. So there's so much to do. Like, it's insane how much there is to do. So I don't, like, my problem, can't even organize my thoughts, which is ironic because my problem is organizing, like, what do I start on, what do I do next? And I think that only comes with experience, and I still struggle with that, where I go, okay, well, I need to do this, and this, and I don't, it seems like there's so much to do, especially when you're starting off, that I just don't know what to do, and I end up doing nothing, usually. Because I just get so tired of thinking about all the work that I have to do that I'm too tired to actually do the work. So I think that was me kind of going, am I going to put more windows in the tower, or I need doors in the doorway? I did say in the last video that this wasn't finished to the standard that I would have wanted. There's stuff that I left out. So in the end of it, there is no doorknobs on the door. And there is a bell in the bell tower with no rope connecting it, so it is a floating bell. But I did have a deadline, and, I got 88%, which is not too bad. I got docked marks because my ground looked too shiny. So obviously they thought that I had upped the specularity and the glossiness of the texture, where I had actually gotten a wet ground texture that was high quality, and I put it into Arnold. Well, I rendered it with Arnold Renderer, which made everything look much better, so it looked wet. But no, too shiny, so I lost. And that was the only feedback I got for this assignment, which it annoyed me. Not like I got a distinction. Percentage-wise, I don't care. But in the principle of it is that I cannot learn if they don't tell me what I've done wrong. So if you're not, like, no one's going to get 100%, but if you're going to dock me marks, and then the only feedback you give me is that the ground looked too wet, I mean, what do I learn from that? Like, in the previous assignment, I got 88% as well. And the feedback was that there was some of the edges weren't smooth enough. There was some, I think they call it hapening or something. Like, if you have a round edge, but it looks more like hexagonal because you've got you haven't smoothed it enough. And there was some texturing issues, or like there was feedback and stuff that I could learn from. Go, oh, okay, I must remember that I need to fix that and have a look at it afterwards. But no, ground's too wet. 12% for a wet ground. Yeah. Not that I'm bitter or anything a year later. This is me making more windows for the tower. I think I saw them on the reference image. That's where I got the idea to do this. Also, I've seen churches, so I know that they have these kind of things. Again, like, speaking of things not being round enough, that is a perfect example. That is an awful arch. Like, it's quite jaggedy. It goes up and then kind of in. It's not quite round, and I didn't spend the time to get it quite where it needs to be because, I rush a little bit sometimes. Especially when I have a deadline. But, as they say, that is life. I am trying, I believe, to do those arched windows with defrosted glass. That is not, as far as I remember, exactly what I ended up doing. This is bad geometry. No edge loops, no reinforcing. Too many, really. But I suppose it's not deforming, so I don't really need any edge loops there. So this is 3D modeling. If you think it's glamorous and making, recreating New York for the next Spider-Man game, or making cool sci-fi ships or fantasy buildings and stuff, you can make all that kind of stuff and it can be really cool. But even making that kind of stuff, it involves a lot of what you're seeing here, of just kind of selecting edges, selecting vertices, dragging them around. I understand why some people find it boring. It can be very tedious, and it can be a little bit boring, but I find it quite rewarding because it's, even when you're doing the repetitive stuff, it can be quite relaxing. You just get into the flow of doing it, and it's still very creative, and I think it's the finished product that really makes it, worthwhile in the end. And I think, specifically with this church and graveyard, taught me a great deal about that. I mean, the last assignment I did where I made a study and a kitchen, I thought that was pretty good for, you know, having had five hour long classes in 3ds Max and then being told to go off and make 2 whole rooms filled with so many objects and, you know, of what you would find in those rooms. That was, I thought, well, I made a very good effort, and it wasn't terrible. I think I spoke about it a little bit in the last video, that like the books were on the bookshelf in the study were just way too big, almost like that window. Or am I making a door? What the? Door you have to jump through. And I lost my train of thought, wondering what the hell I'm trying to do. So funny. Okay, yeah, I think I'm trying to make a big window with smaller windows in it, just to get that kind of effect. Do I end up doing that? I can't remember. I mean, I could look at the pictures. But I'll wait until the end. I'll be surprised like the rest of you. Oh, I think I did, and I put the circular one on top. Circular. Yeah, so it can be quite relaxing. Things are rewarding. I already said that. I don't know what I was talking about. My train of thought disappeared. And that's gonna bug the hell out of me. Well, the first thing I'm going to do when this video is over is I'm going to go back, rewatch it, and figure out what the hell I was saying here. But by then it will be too late to let you know. I'm sure it was very important and incredibly interesting. And you're all devastated for missing out on what I was going to say. So this is, yeah. Like, oh. I'm sorry if that was loud. I hit my mic. But I hit the pop shield. It should be fine. If I can just rotate this back. No, yeah, okay, I'll wait. So this is what I mean about, you know, lining it up, constantly rotating in 3D modeling especially. We were told never work in the perspective view. That's what we were told. And what I have been doing since then is 90% of the time working in the perspective view. Like, I understand the reason that we're told not to. It's a lot easier to line things up if you use the specific views, the front view, the left view, and the top view. Even if you went into the orthographic view, it would be a little bit easier, but no, I'm stubborn. I use the perspective view. That's... Oh, I thought that was a little bit... The point was a little bit off center. I'm not quite sure. It does look squashed and terrible. I'd like to say I could make some better arches now, but I don't know. Maybe one day I'll try it and we'll find out. But this will show you how I boolean stuff out. Probably shouldn't be. So I attach everything together to make it one object, and then I should be booleaning stuff out. I select OK there when it's talking about ID materials, because I have no idea what that meant. Had no idea what that meant. So I have one object. Please tell me that I do it correctly, because I have a funny feeling I'm going to do this wrong. But in doing it wrong, I learn from my mistakes. A mistake that has stuck with me because I think I do this wrong, and yeah, I found in Control Z is the best friend of any 3D modeler, game designer, programmer, artist in Photoshop or anything else. Control Z. Because what I needed was I needed a duplicate so that when I booleaned the whole out, I could just put the duplicate in. There we go. Yeah, in 3ds Max, I don't know if I was doing something wrong, but I found using Boolean to cut objects out like this was very tricky. Sometimes it just chose not to work. And I don't even mean where, like, the way it left this bit here, I mean that it just wouldn't work. The object that I was booleaning out would disappear and there would be no hole, even though it had intersected. I don't know why, but there you go. I haven't had that problem in Maya yet, but I haven't had to use booleans much. I've used it once or twice maybe in the last year. But at least this worked enough that I could go around and just delete the bits that were left. I don't know why they were left. If any experienced modelers end up watching this video and know the reason, you know, leave a comment below and let me know, because I would be quite interested to know what I'm doing wrong, or what I was doing wrong. Or if any of you have had this problem yourselves with 3ds Max, let me know, or if this problem happens in Maya as well. I don't, be interesting to know. So just delete all the faces that I don't need, and then I can pop in the window. And I kind of forgot that I made those windows. And again, like when you're modeling, the best way to do it, in my opinion, which not worth much really, is to reuse as many things as you can. So there's no point, like, I modeled one of these guys and then duplicated it. There's no point in modeling, you know, 4 or, you know, tons and tons of them. And if there's something that you've modeled that you could take and scale it or reshape it slightly to use it again, then do that instead of making something from scratch again. Or, you know, make some minor modifications, changing size and scales and stuff, just because it just makes it quicker. And you know, it's that whole thing of the builders measure twice, cut once. You know, there's no point in making more work for yourself than you need. Oh, I'm using a front view now. So there you go. That is why they say don't work in perspective view, because the front view showed me that I could, the perfect way to line it up, that it was lined up right. So I'm going, so you might have saw there that I took the glass out of the circular window. What I'm doing here is, like I said, the glass was just a circle with the material on it extruded out, so I've created a box that will fit the entire window. And if I was smart, I probably would have shaped it to, you know, match up with the shape of the window, but I just, you know, it's going to intersect with the wall, no one's going to see it, so I just made it slightly bigger so it would fill the whole lot. And then I add the material to it. UV map, make it a box, and pop in my glass materials. So you can see I have loads of materials there that I'm using. I say loads. And just push it back so that you can't see it. I know it's intersecting with the wall, but nobody else does, so it's okay. Although now you guys do as well. It's a cheat way to do it, but it works. As you can see, rendered out there, you can't tell that the glass is actually intersecting with the wall. So, not the worst job in the world. A second, what have we got here? Sorry, just checking my phone. Yeah, more materials. That. Oh, I assigned that to the outside, yeah. Trying to get it. See, this is the thing. UV mapping in 3ds Max, from what I was shown, you basically just pick, you know, is it a plane, a cylinder, a sphere? I don't know what shrink wrap was. We were never told. If we were, I can't remember. A box or a face, and you pick that. Switch between them to get the best fit. We never actually went through UV unwrapping in 3ds Max, which I've had to do a lot in Maya this year. So I can't really compare unwrapping in Max to Maya because I've not done it in Max, but I can tell you in Maya, oh, I do not like unwrapping. And that's probably because I just don't know enough about it. It's like, it seems simple in theory, but it can quite easily go wrong. And it has quite often gone wrong for me in Maya. And if I ever catch up to the videos that I've recorded, you'll probably see a lot of videos. I might have to edit them down because there's just a lot of me. I mean, I don't mind showing videos of me completely failing. It's a good way to show how to learn and the problems that you can encounter. But there's no need to show like an hour of me struggling with UV unwrapping in Maya. I think it'd be quite boring for everybody involved. Especially me having to relive it over and over. Well, I'll have to relive it anyway because I'll have to watch the video and edit it. But I'll have to watch the video and then edit it. Ugh, I'm going to have to relive that so much. Hey, but hopefully it'll help me learn. Watching what I'm doing, I might realise where the mistakes lay. So there's my render. I will add doors in. There will be a bell there. And I add more windows here. I'm just conscious of the fact I think there's only about 15 minutes left in this video before there's 2 hours of nothing happening, so I'm wondering, it might just be 15 minutes of this as well, of nothing happening. I'm just wondering what else I get done. So you're looking at this now, I'd be save, okay. Save versions, something we were told, because 3ds Max crashes a lot. Or at least it did. Maya crashes sometimes, not as much. But 3ds Max crashed a lot. See, if I still had that folder. Oh, all the different versions in it, and they're all gone. Or are they? I'll dig through my computer. If I can find them, before I edit this video and upload it, I will dig through, because I know I was down to 40 gigabytes on my hard drive, which sounds like a lot, but I have a terabyte. And a lot of it is videos that I've recorded. I think my folder for videos that I need to edit and upload at the minute for college work is 140 gigabytes that it's taking up. But I deleted loads of stuff off my computer, and it went from 40 gigabytes to 200 and something. So there was a lot that I got rid of that I didn't need, which is how I ended up accidentally deleting the graveyard folder. But I may not have been very thorough, and it may still be in my program files somewhere. I'm gonna check and see, do I do any more work or do I just turn it off? Doesn't look like anything. Oh, I do. I boolean in another window. Interesting. The same thing happened there. I'm very curious as to why it was just this one bit that was left and not any of the other ones. And obviously the edge, but like if the edge stayed and none of these stayed, I could say, okay, maybe it's a problem with this. And if they all stayed, I'd say, okay, well, it's definitely a problem with these. But one of them stayed and the rest of them disappeared. It just... something that happened that I still don't know the answer to. And now that I'm in Maya, I may never know the answer. Or if and when I get back to 3ds Max, this problem may never happen again, so... who knows? And again, I'm sure there are easier ways to select rings of faces and edges. But at this time, I did not know them. I know them in Maya. So I assume, like, I know there is a button somewhere in 3ds Max that is select edge loop. Select loop, select ring and loop are selection things somewhere up here, but I can't exactly remember where. So many items. Another render window looks good. I mean, it looks fine. It looks like the other one, just lower down. Yeah. So I'm going to add these circular windows to above these. And just keep in mind what these renders look like. So the little window that pops up. Because we're very close to seeing the pictures of the final product. See, oh, see, again, look. Boolean and objects, it takes the back wall. Booleans. The bane of my existence in my first year with 3ds Max, it was Booleans. Booleans can feck off for all I care. I mean, they do come in handy. Anyway, this bothered me. The little gap here was something that I just couldn't quite fix. It's probably because I was mashing together. The circular window wasn't made to fit into that. If I was smart, I would have laid out the circular window where it is above this and then kind of molded the archway around it. But I didn't, so, you know, live and learn. Oh, is that what my problem is? If I only turned this box into an editable poly after I booleaned, maybe that's why the boolean isn't working properly. Because I know at Max, if you want to edit any standard primitive, you need to turn it into an editable poly first so that you can actually access the different faces, edges, and edit it, which, you know, editable poly. So maybe that's part of the problem. I didn't pay attention last time to whether I'd turned it into an editable poly before I booleaned it out, but it's a possibility, you know. See, even looking back at my mistakes, knowing what I know now, the little bit more that I've learned, even though it wasn't in 3ds Max, I have learned the fundamentals of 3D modeling and stuff, so I can see that that is a potential reason for the difficulty I was having, and maybe that's why I haven't had that trouble with Maya, because everything in Maya, it's automatically when you bring it in an editable poly, as far as I know, because I've never had to turn anything into an editable poly. I just switch to edge mode, face mode, or whatever mode I want. So that box is an editable poly because I've already put the big window in it. So I'm converting the... What am I doing? See what I mean? Sometimes it just takes whatever it wants. Oh, maybe it was because... See, this is a solid cube. Well, I say cube. Obviously, it's got the pointy top, so it's not a cube. It was a spline that I drew into that shape, and then I extruded it out, so that means that it's solid on the inside. Maybe that was the issue. I had to have the thing... But no, because I've seen people boolean just like chunks out of a solid object, so I don't see why that would be the issue. Oh well. A year later and I still don't know what it is. Despite just saying that maybe I've learned. I have definitely learned. But it was an editable poly, so that's not the reason. Well. One day I'll figure it out, I guess. Maybe. Maybe not. And you know what? If I don't, well, like I said, I'm not having that problem in Maya yet. And if I come back to 3ds Max, maybe I'll be able to figure it out if I start having this problem again, because like I know more now, and I know the different tools to use, and I know the fundamentals better, so I know how to solve problems. Or I'm better at solving problems. I wouldn't say I know everything about them. So, 38 minutes for Final Fantasy VII Remake. 82.5 gigs out of 90. Okay. So, forgive me for being distracted, but you know. So, alright, keep an eye. Remember what that looked like. I mean, looks fine. But that is the mental array renderer, and it is quite different to the Arnold renderer, which you will see. Yes, no, apologies if I am a little bit distracted. I've not been sleeping well, as I said, and I did say last time after the last episode of this one that I should not record videos when I am sleep deprived, because I tend to ramble. But this time, my brain's not working, so I'm not even rambling. I can't think of anything to say, which is quite unlike me, really. So let's see. Oh, scanline renderer. Okay, that was what I was using, not the mental array. So I switched to Arnold, so I do see it. So this, you will actually see the difference. Okay, that's even better. I get a lot of errors because the textures aren't set up to texture in Arnold. I do that again. I fix that later. But you can. Oh, look, shiny ground. Maybe it was a setting on the plane, not on the material. But I don't know. Okay, well, maybe he was right to deduct me that 12%. But you can already see, like, it looks better. It looks more like a model, like a real life, somebody modeled it, like a dollhouse kind of thing. So that compared to the other one, once I saw this, I could not go back to scanline. So I'm just checking the different areas and how they look in the render. Trees and grass take a lot longer to render. And because we're getting towards the end, I should say I had 7 images, which was fine. So each image took 3 or 4 minutes to render fully. So you can see this is slowed down quite a lot compared to when I rendered in scanline. It just popped up. Rendering here, we'll see like the little as it works. So 3 to 4 minutes to render the 7 images. So that's not the problem. The part of the assignment was also to have a short animation of a camera moving around through the scene to see the entire scene. I had a 16-second video, and it took me 18 hours to render it out. So that is the trade-off of using Arnold. Everybody else uses scanline, and there's, I think, the person who had the next longest render time, theirs was about 7 or 8 hours. Everyone else's was like, some people's was 5 minutes, some people's was half an hour. Mine was 18 hours. I started it at 5 o'clock in the evening, I think, or thereabouts. And I was going to leave it on overnight, and then an hour into it, the power went in my house for about 30 seconds. But that was long enough, obviously, to knock off the computer, and meant I had to start the render all over again. So that was annoying, and it was due the next day. Thankfully, it was the 5-hour class. I got into college. We started at 9. I got in at 1, I think, 1 or 2. Like, we had until the end of the day to hand it up, but it took that long to render it out. It took all day, all night, and I didn't sleep much that night because I was terrified that the power would go again, or that it would crash, or something else would happen and it wouldn't render. So I was lying in bed with my computer on, and I kept glancing over, getting up and coming over and checking the progress bar and going back and lying down, and absolutely insane. So if you're using Arnold, just be aware. I know there's probably reasons that it took so long. Oh, I mean, it's not that bad here. I think the reasons was I was rendering an animation, so it had to render each frame as the camera moved. So that's back to scan 9. Yeah, so it was rendering each frame as the camera moved, and the fog and the lights slowed it down so much. Like, it was insane. Like, some frames rendered quite quickly, and then it would get to a frame that had a lot of like a light right in front of it, which was lighting up the fog, and maybe a tree in the background, because I did end up using trees. And that's the end of that. As you will see, I do just want to make sure, like, look at this, 2 hours and 35 minutes. 2 hours and 35 minutes of nothing until I close it off, because I'm stupid. But yeah, I'm gonna bring this onto this monitor so I can have a look at it properly. Yeah, so this is what it looked like in. Sorry, I was just thinking of something there. You can't see my mouse pointer, so I'm not going to be able to point at stuff. But you can look at it, so you can see that there's a populated graveyard to the right. That's literally just I duplicated out the one headstone and placed it all over the place. I added some crosses. You can see the bell. I'm actually gonna see if I can display. Bear with me. So there is a floaty bell. See, the thing with the fog was like you couldn't really tell from a distance. Well, yeah, I mean, I pointed it out now, so you definitely can. I put lights in behind all of the windows, just to, give it the atmosphere. On the left-hand side, behind the tree, there is a light coming in. That I envisioned either being the moon or a spotlight, or, not a spotlight, a street light. I put a very small dim light behind the cross at the top of the bell tower just to highlight that because it was difficult to see, and again just duplicated that out and put it on top of the main door. The big bright light above the doorway is a porch light, which when I showed some people, they were like, there's a light bleeding through the wall, and I was like, no, that's a porch light. And you can see the light falling on the ground, and it is quite shiny, but it's supposed to be because it's wet. I actually, in the animation, I did try to use the 3ds Max particle effects to do rain, and it did. You could see 1 or 2 drops showing up in the video, if you looked really closely, but no, it didn't quite work out the way I wanted. So then we've got a side view, so you can see the porch light there, lighting up. So it just, and this is an Arnold, so like this is what I mean. It just looks a lot better. The concrete on the pillar through the fog looks nice. The light shining through the tree. This is the gravestone I did as a little joke. R.I.P. Alan McNally, 1988 to 2019. Loving boyfriend, darling son, and master modeler. I wish. I added in some, a mound of dirt, just a squashed cube, and surrounded it with another cube that just had some kind of stone texture on it. Not great, but again, this was getting quite close to the end, so you can see all the graves again just duplicated out, placed slightly less uniformly, so that it just didn't look like copy and paste and drag. Some more trees, a closer view of the front with the lights shining through. I mean, like I said, I was quite happy with how it went and how it looked. Oh yeah, and there's a little wooden fence separating the church from the graveyard, which is just, cylinders. And the bell tower with the hanging bell, the floating bell. But even, and that was the 7 images, so that is how it turned out. I did learn a lot doing it. It did take a long time, like I said in the last video. This took me about 2 to 3 months of solid work, while also working on other assignments, game design assignments, which you will see, I think one of them I managed to record a little bit of. which will showcase Unity and stuff. I've a lot more recordings of this year, especially one massive project that I'm still trying to get finished, which I'm trying to get finished really soon because the deadline is, it's either next week or it was a couple of weeks ago. But with this whole COVID-19 stuff and college being closed, it's deadlines are a little bit up in the air. But I did set myself quite the challenge for that one, so I think I have 20, almost 30 videos just on that one assignment. I'll get to that as soon as I can. But yeah, so in the meantime, this was my church, my graveyard, my first foray into recording anything, and second foray into 3ds Max. So yeah, if you like the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends who might be interested in learning more about game development or following a crazy Irish mature student as he struggles his way through college again. And if you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, I guess. Yeah, so that's all. Thanks, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.